Georgia Alabama was one of the best games that I think that I have ever seen, not just in this year, but probably over the last decade. I mean, what we saw this Saturday night in Tuscaloosa was absolutely amazing. I got to start off with Alabama and specifically talk about Jalen Milroe too. But Alabama in this game came out and got out to a 28-0 lead. And I think as the game was going on, Alabama comes out in the opening drive. They go up by 7. Really good drive. They had some penalties. Jalen Milroe's escapability and running ability got him out of those mistakes. He had a couple of really great throws. They go up 7-0. Of course, a really good offensive mind like Kalen DeBour is going to get them in those really good situations offensively. But then they make a stop on Georgia on their opening drive, and then they get the ball back and go up 14-0. Now, I got to be honest, I was a little stunned. Then they get another stop, and then they turn right around and go up 21-0, then 28-0. And I got to be honest with you, my jaw had hit the ground after watching Alabama go up 28-0 on what most people thought was the number one team in the country. And quite honestly, a team that did fight back and did take the lead in the fourth quarter. But I look at this game for Alabama and the significance of it. Georgia coming into town, a new regime under Kalen DeBour. What are they going to look like offensively? Can they put up the amount of points that they would or should or could against a Kirby Smart-led defense? And they did. You know, what's interesting is Kirby Smart's pupil, if you will, and Dan Lanning tried to stop this offense twice last year and was unable to do it. It was only Michigan that was able to slow it down last year. But Kalen DeBour is one of the best offensive minds in the country, and they displayed that in full display on Saturday night. Want to look at Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe was 27 of 33 for 374 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. He also ran for 16 carries, 177 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Guys, he might be, and I think is, the best player in college football right now. You can easily tell the development and the growth that he has had under Kalen DeBour. You know, you didn't hear a lot from Milroe throughout the offseason. It just felt like that he put his head down and went to work. You know, during the offseason, we talked about this, and it was something that me and my other co-hosts on another show took a lot of criticism for. You could tell in the offseason just how much better of a passer and decision maker he was, and he was on full display in doing that in the first half. Made some poor decisions in the second half, but when the going got tough and he needed to make a play like he did in the last play in the last throw to Ryan Williams, who we'll also talk about, was utterly fantastic. But I look at a guy like Jalen Milroe. He put the team on his back, and he is the straw that stirs that Alabama offensive drink. He is ungodly in the things that he does. But I thought it was interesting. I thought that their front seven, even with Jalen Milroe and all the great things that he did, I thought the front seven for Alabama was really good. I thought that there were a lot of times that Georgia tried to, even with a banged-up offensive line, get under center and run the football with Trevor Etienne, and they were unable to do it at times. You know, there was one drive that Etienne, I think, had around 25 to 30 yards rushing. Outside of that, guys, he had 20 for the rest of the game. He had 12 carries, 55 yards, and a touchdown. He did get some tough yardage, but that front seven is really good. You know, I think of LT Overton. I think of all those guys some of those guys that they brought in there. Their front seven is very, very aggressive and experienced. That's secondary. I mean, look, there were plays in the second half that they gave up, a lot of explosive plays, one to Dylan Bell. I think Arian Smith had one. He also had 6 catches, 132 yards. But look, when the going got tough and they needed to play, those young DBs made plays. And I think that's the scary thing about this Alabama team. I don't think that there's been a team this season that has shown us the capability to do what they do. They are on another level than everybody else in the country. Now, it's early in the season, and Alabama will get tested. Look, they got more games that they're going to have to go up against and other teams that they're going to have to go up against. They got to go up against Tennessee. They have to go up against LSU. There are opponents that are going to test them. But even in saying any of that, the Alabama Crimson Tide, through the first 5 weeks of the season, have shown how impressive that they can be. I talked about that front seven. Lawson had 7 tackles. I thought he was all over the place, and he did a lot of great things. Guys, there are things I think that you could look at and fight over semantics. I look at that running back room too as an example. Like on third down, they were 0 for 3 running the football on third down. I thought Jalen Milroe in the wheel route, that was a great play, but they're going to have to need more from the running game in these big games outside of Jalen Milroe. Now, they will tell you, or Alabama fans will tell you, well, Justice Haynes had 6 carries, 35 yards. Miller had 5 carries, 25 yards. I'm not saying that's a bad performance at all. But if you take that long run from Justice Haynes away, they were unable to establish the running game in the second half when they went conservative. There is one thing that I want to mention here because it's really a tale of two halves. I look at the first half, they are as dominant as a team in the country, arguably the best team in the country when you saw them in the first half. And I'm going to come back to that in a moment. But I look at the second half and them getting conservative and giving up the lead. Guys, they blew a 28-0 lead. And if there's one thing that you got to point out here with Alabama is that happened. Now, I get it's against Georgia. I get that, they're a really prideful team. They're a really well-coached team. The bottom line is, regardless of the outcome, you gave up a 28-0 lead. And really, a 30-7 lead after you got the safety, then got the ball back, and you could have put the nail in the coffin, so to speak, but you go for it on fourth down, and you're unable to get it. So do I if I'm a Bama fan, do I worry about those small semantics when it comes to what happened on Saturday? Maybe not. You're not going to face teams as talented and as good as Georgia, but you still gave it up. Let's talk about Ryan Williams. Guys, I think Ryan Williams is cut from the cloth of one of the best wide receivers, not just a freshman, that we've seen in a long time. When the kid reclassified, and I had this question, and I don't want to say I was wrong. I questioned, could a young guy come into the SEC and do what he did? Now, Bama has never been a place, especially under Saban, and I know that it's a new regime, that hypes up players the way that Ryan Williams had been hyped up. But, man, you cannot look at Ryan Williams and his performance and not say that it was one of the best that we'd seen in a long time. The 6 catches, 177 yards. Everybody's talking about the last play where they hit the big shot and he has the spin move and he looks like an outright wizard. The kid really popped out of a Harry Potter book, and some of the things and spells that he was putting on the DBs for Georgia. The kid is absolutely insane. I'm just as, if not more, impressed by the catch earlier than that when he tipped the ball in the air and he caught it, because the ball control, the ball skills are not good. They're not great. Guys, it's elite. It's on a completely different level than we've seen in some time. There's been a lot of receivers in college football that are great and fantastic. Just look at the 3 wide receivers. Kalen DeBour had one last year, and Rome Odunze. You think of Malik Neighbors. You think of Marvin Harrison Jr. This kid might be cut from that same exact cloth. His balance, the things that he does with the ball in the air, guys, I know we're through 5 games of a kid's career, and I know that everything that I said to this point will be rat poison for some. Alabama fans say, Blake, this is rat poison. What are you doing? I'm sorry, man. You are that good, and you have talent all over the place, not just a receiver, but you have it in your DB room as well.